Hello everyone, my name is Rexy, and welcome to this leg of the Pokémon Maralocke, covering the Kalos region in Generation 6. The Maralocke has a Nuzlocke of the first two mainline games in release order. The standard Nuzlocke rules are in play, plus no overleveling past the gym leader's ace, and the species I use in the Hall of Fame can't be used again. That means I can't reuse anything that's got into the Hall of Fame from Generations 1 to 5. Check out the playlist to see where everything stands so far. To this day, Kalos has the largest regional Pokédex, meaning I have a total of 157 evolutions to work with. What? That's not restrictive at all! Nobody's gonna watch a video where I have way too many options! Again, this doesn't include legendaries, but split evolutions are allowed. This generation also added affection mechanics, which can be used to grab experience boosts and a chance to hit harder or dodge with the power of love. However, this feature is entirely optional, so I decided to opt out of it. The level cap at the end means every single line can evolve into its final form via level up. However, the Razor Claw is locked behind post-game, so Sneasel can't evolve this time. The ridiculously wide encounter pool means I could end up with just about anything, so aside from foreshadowing the Horn and Sinnoh remix, I still have to make sure I get an endgame team that fits the holes that I need. Additionally, I play with a Soft Troops clause. If I have its Pokédex entry, I don't catch it. But that does mean catching more than one of an evolutionary line. This video's focus is on Pokemon X and Y. The jump up to the 3DS meant its battle system needed a whole other dimension. Literally. It's also a more relaxed generation, as it brought in softened critical hits, Pokémon Amie, Mega Evolution, and the new Fairy type. Also, there are benches everywhere, so you can just watch the world go by if you want to. Time waits for no trainer though, as after heading outside with my own running shoes, I reached Aquacore Town and joined the table with the 4 rivals that I'll hang out with throughout my journey. Smart Kid Trevor and the dance fanatic Tierno had already chosen their starters, so it was up to me, Caleb, and Shauna to choose between the other 3. In both games, I picked different leads. X had Cloud the Chespin, while Y got a Foki named Crazy Diamond, or Crazy D for short. Both of them were no match for Shauna in our first battle. I delivered a note from Professor Sycamore to my mom, who thought it was a marriage proposal. Then I was free to stock up on Pokeballs and go on to meet more new friends. Yeah, I already met 4 other humans all at once, but I'm clearly more comfortable around animals. Route 2 was where the squads took on the scripted Pidgey and named them Rosa and Superfly, and only a few feats later did Caleb show the rest of the class how to catch a Pokemon. But I already caught one! Am I invisible or something? Then there was the Viridian Forest knockoff to the south of Santaloon, where X took on Edge the Scatterbug, while Y grabbed a Caterpie named Echoes. Outside on Route 3 was where X took on Rydia the Azurill. And remember what I said about the Marrow line getting better in each generation? Well, this is one of a handful of lines that became a Fairy type here! But she still ended up with Thick Fat, so she'll mainly play more defensive again. Y met Rat the Bidoof, which isn't as good, but is also a decent encounter in its own right. In Santaloon City itself, the groups met a stranger who moved around on inline skates. So after defeating her in battle, I got some skates of my own. All I was missing was a pirate's radio station and some spray paint, I guess. Then the gangs went to Route 22 for one more encounter, and both of them ran into the 5% Dunsparce. X had no issues and caught Cecil safely, but Y had it rough when it stacked up with rollouts, meaning I couldn't catch it without sacrificing a member of the team. Y didn't know that for long, but he had to go down to ensure its capture. Rest well, little one. Ultimately, this thing got called an appropriately named Killer Queen. Serene Grace is by far the better ability for the species, but both of them ended up with Runaway, meaning they'll peter out quicker as the games go on. Before moving along to the gym, X got super friendly with the entire gang, allowing Rydia to evolve into a Marill just in time to learn Rollout. And the 2 bugs also reached their final forms respectively as Vivillon and Butterfree. Talking of bugs, that's exactly what the Shutterbug that is Viola had in store for us. Rosa went solo in this fight for X. 2 gusts were all that she needed against the Surskit, as it merely used Bubble and set up a water spout. Then there was Vivillon, which Rosa continued to gust spam on. After setting it with Harden twice, it left loose with Infestation, and after finding an option to switch into, I then learned that Infestation operates like Wrap and Bind. Therefore, a switch is impossible. So I had to keep Rosa in, and I actually used 2 potions to keep her out of crit range while she continued to attack. But it fell, we're moving on, and that was a sloppy victory that could have been more thought out, especially considering both teams had a Dunsparce. I discovered that Rollout kicks ass! Surskit tried with Bubble and Water Spout, while Vivillon set up with Harden, but Killer Queen bowled them over in 3 turns combined. Before leaving the city, her sister Alexa showed up and gave me an EXP share, and they work differently in this generation. Rather than letting a Pokemon hold it, it's a key item that can get switched on or off. When it's on, all participating Pokemon get the full amount of experience, while all inactive members get half. This would be a permanent feature from Gen 8 onwards, so I had it turned on in my bag just so I could get used to it. Further about 4, both squads met a Flabébé each and named them Lena and Spice Girl. As the other side of the route was Lumio City, where the squads met Professor Sycamore inside his lab, and he graciously gave us a starter from the Kanto region. Per my rule set, the only one both squads were able to use was a Charmander, naming them Vincent and Chili Pepper, and I sure hope they got the chance to reach their final forms this time. Before leaving, he gave us some funny-looking Charizardite stones and encouraged us to learn about some Mega Evolution thing, which would send us all over the region. The squads also met local businessman Lysander and the national treasure that was Diantha, both on opposite sides regarding the preservation of natural beauty, as if I had any to begin with. On Route 5, I bumped into a roller skating Lucario trainer named Corina who may or may not be important, battled Gyarados Rock Lobster just for fun, and reached the pass end at Camphia Town. Near the west exit, there was a sleeping Snorlax in the middle of the road. Everyone knows that it can only get woken up with a Pokeflute, which was with some rich bloke at the nearby Parfum Palace. Naz met going through Route 6, where X met Quill the Esper, and Y took on Metallica the Onage, both immediately going on to their respective teams. The flute got reclaimed at that glorified tourist attraction, and that giant blob got pushed aside once woken up. By that time, the Pidgey duo became a Pidgeotto duo, the Charmander pair evolved into Charmeleon, Rydia reached her final form as an Azumarill, Spice Girl turned into a Floette, and the two starters reached their next form respectively as Quilladin and Frogadier. On Route 7, the squads teamed up with Caleb to school Tiano and Trevor in a double battle, and X faced a scare from a Smeargle that's near pursuit. And thank goodness Creel didn't go down to a crit! Then there was the connecting cave, where both squads met a Zubat each and named them Poem and Aerosmith, and both hung out of the box for the time being. The next destination was Ambert Town, where Caleb and I got distracted with the local Paleontological Society and zipped to Glittering Cave, and in the coolest way too, going on a bumpy ride on top of a Rhyhorn! The path through Route 9 was where Y took on a Hippopotas that got named Beach Boy, and inside the cool-looking 3D cave itself, X met Go-Go the Solrock, and Y took on a Lunatone that got named Talking Head. This cave was also the first place where we saw the local criminals Team Flare, which are hardly criminals at all and are more like a rejected high school clique. After bashing our way through them, Caleb and I saw a scientist that was minding his own business. He let us take a fossil each and revive it back at Ambret, and that was how X met Set the Tyrant and Y took on Love Deluxe the Amora. The squads then dashed right through Silage City at the other side of the beach and onto Route 10 for another encounter. X took on a Halucha named Sabin, while Y caught Cheap Trick the Eevee, and the latter catch went so well that Aerosmith evolved into a Golbat in the aftermath. I knew exactly what I wanted to evolve him into, so that was when I went into Pokémon Amie. This mod is where a teammate would get Hearts of Affection, which could be gained via feeding and playing. He needed 2 hearts at the minimum, and he would end up with the experience boost thanks to this, but there was no other way. So consider this an exception to the no affection rule. The second requirement is knowing a fairy type move when leveling up, but he'd have to wait a few levels before doing so. Both squads hit-listed every trainer in the area, which turned out to be a bad idea, because one Sky trainer had a Mantine and a Jumpluff a few levels above the level cap. And in Sky battles, I could only form a team from encounters that could either fly themselves or have the Levitate ability. Edge was able to drop a risky Stun Spore on the Mantine, which helped, but its movesets of Water Pulse and Wing Attack overwhelmed him, Rosa, and Go-Go. When Poem dispatched it with a wing attack, she then went face-to-face against the Jumpluff. But Bullet Seed, Fairy Wind, and Infestation all do not very effective damage, meaning it was safe to heal when necessary and keep pushing with wing attacks to eventually bring it to the floor. That was a horrifying battle where a little bat was the only survivor, but it only taught me to be more careful going forward. Y kinda learned their lesson and went into this fight with a slightly stronger team. But a similar story happened, with Echoes dropping a Stun Spore and ultimately falling to a wing attack despite all the baiting of that move onto Talking Head. Our floating moon face used a beefy Psywave to dispatch that baby Manta Ray. The squad knew that Jumpluff is beatable against a Zubat, so a Golbat meant a similar story, albeit with paralysis in the way. That squad also lost a bug type, but it was a sacrifice needed to ensure survival. While battling trainers inside the local gym, Krill evolved into her final form as a Meowstic, and X spent a lot of time counseling poor Arm so that she at least felt happy enough to evolve into a Crobat. The squads had already gotten rocked before facing Grant, so it was time to give him a taste of his own medicine. X led with Ridio against Amora. She got a Rock Tomb speed drop into early paralysis with Thunder Wave, but Aurora Beam couldn't do much, and she washed it over with a Bubble Beam and an Aqua Tail. Cloud also got a Rock Tomb speed drop when up against the Tyrants. He gave it a Rock Smash defense drop, but on the following turn, its old bite got the flinch. The Rocky Helmet helped things, but I still needed Ridia to tank his attacks. Ultimately, she broke out of the paralysis and landed an Aqua Tail for the W. In Y, Crazy D hit a Bubble Beam 2-shot on Yamura and held back a Refrigerate-powered takedown, but his Thunder Wave paralyzed him along the way. And then I brought in Killer Queen against the Tyrants. She used Yawn on it, then on the switch, its bite move got redirected to Spice Girl, giving early damage thanks to a Rocky Helmet. With this big dino snoozing away, she then set up with Lucky Chant and ran through 2 Fairy Wind attacks for a more strategic W. At the end of Route 10 was Geosenge Town, where the squads bumped into Karina again, her Lucario wanted to fight me for some reason, and they both got curb stomped to no one's surprise. She also said that her gym at Shaloa City is just a cave's pass away, so I took up her offer. On Route 11, Y took on a throw that's got named the Hand. Then inside Reflecting Cave itself, X met Realm the Solosis. Both of these catches would go on to do some awesome mid-game work off-screen. The squads found her gym at Shaloa, but learned that she had gone to this trippy building called the Tower of Mastery. A guru there had only a single Mega Ring for someone to keep looking into this Mega Evolution phenomenon, so Killam and I falls for it, and I, unsurprisingly, ended up on top. Before I could study much further, Karina awaited my challenge inside her gym. Even without Lucario, she still had a solid team of fighting types. Poem opened for X. Mienfoo tried to flinch with a fake out, but faced a 1-2-3 of Inner Focus, Rocky Helmet Chip, and Wing Attack, knocking it out. Creel had to tank a Rock Tomb after failing to land an Orko Psybeam under my choke. But after a potion heal from Karina, Psybeam high rolled the following turn and wiped out all of its health. And then there was Halucha. Flying Press was very ineffective, so the combination of Rocky Helmet Recoil, an Air Cutter Misclick, and a Wing Attack were enough to brush it away. Y had it too easy. Since Mienfoo couldn't hit Metallica at all, I let him set up with Swords Dance, and with +6 attack, he ran through her entire team. Shadow Sneak, Aerial Ace, and Aerial Ace again. All Orcos on her entire squad. No damage! In the aftermath, I met Karina again at the top of that dusty tower, where she taught me how to use Mega Evolution in battle. The aura-happy Lucario wanted to tag along, so the squads took on Sid and Stray Cat. At Route 12, X got gifted a free Lapras and named her Aerith, and Realm reached her next form as a Duosian. As for Y, Cheap Trick had learned Charm via level up, meaning he had hit all of the boxes to evolve into a Sylveon. And they also rode on top of the optional Skiddo, going to a far-out corner of the bench and finding a shiny stone for later. I feel like a kid again! At the other side of the route was the porch that was Coumarine City. Kayla wanted to challenge me outside the gym, so I did, and you can guess how that went down. Then after a brief amount of training and moving around inside a jungle gym, the squads challenged Rammus's grass types at the top. Poem just spammed Acrobatics for X. That move got a crit Orco on both the Jump Loft and the Weeping Bell before doing anything. It couldn't quite do the same to the Go-Go's, but Takedown Recoil did the rest. Y tried to Aerial Ace from Metallica, but it planted a Leech Seed and recovered lost health that way. So he set up with Swords Dance and cleanly wrapped his health bar on the second attempt. Out came the Go-Go's next. Superfly used, well, Fly as the main attack. She held onto a crit takedown and took it out in 2 turns. I was prepared to sacrifice if needed, considering Pidgeot isn't really all that great. And Chili Pepper torched the Weeping Bell with a single Flame Burst. The path to Route 13 goes back to Lumio City, but the northern half was under a blackout and I had to liberate the power plant from Team Flare to get it back up and running. When fighting the grunts, I learned that Toxic got changed up from this generation. Not only does the move no longer miss if a poison-type Pokemon uses it, but it also bypasses semi-invulnerable turns like in Dig. I appreciate the buffs given to poison types, but that still hit me out of nowhere. When inside the building, Superfly reached her final form as a Pidgeot, Aerosmith was friendly enough to evolve into a Crobat, Metallica evolved into a Doublade, Beach Boy became a Hippowdon, the Charmeleon duo hit their final form as a Charizard, and the 2 starters evolved respectively to Chestnut and Greninja. Gotta like the similar evolution levels across the board here. Further in the plant was Admin Aliana, who had a single Mightyena that was over the level cap. X had no problems at all with a Flying Press 2-shot from Sabin despite being 4 levels lower. Y's fight was more complicated. Beach Boy immediately sent out a Sandstorm with his Sandstream ability. I switched to Hand, who immediately got hit with Swagger, hit himself in the face, then got forced out with Roar into Killer Queen. I switched back to the Hand, but he faces Swagger and is self-hit again. I didn't want to risk a crit to the confusion, so Cheap Trick went out, tanked Assurance, and set off Cute Charm. But he too got hit with Swagger, punched himself, and got forced out with Roar. Lucky for us, Aerosmith is light and speedy, so he used Acrobatics twice to send it soaring. With the power back on at Lumio City, the squads rushed their way to Prism Tower at Centrico Plaza. That was the home of the next gym, which took a leaf out of Blaine's book and required me to use my quiz brain to get to the top. Since I had restored electricity here, I was set to get some jolts back when fighting Clemence. Cecil went up against the Demolga in X. As expected, this thing used Volt Switch, directing Return onto his Magneton. I switched into Sid as it set up with Electric Terrain, Mega Evolved him, then took out the rest of its health with a Power-Up Punch. With the attack boost, he went and ran an Orchard that same move onto the Heliolisk. And then there was Emolga again. It went first and brought in a terrain boosted Volt Switch, while Cecil's Ancient Power barely brought down half of its health. Expecting a crit on the next turn, I let Creel tank another Volt Switch. The terrain disappeared, and she was free to remove the rest of its health with Extra Sensory. In Y, Metallica started out with a Shadow Sneak on the Emolga, which brought down a little bit of health in exchange for Static activating. It used Volt Switch, and out came that dreaded Magneton with its special move roster. I needed a way to soften the impact, so I swapped in Cheap Trick and set up a light screen, as it in return set up an Electric Terrain. Then I brought in Stray Cat, who held onto a soft Mirror Shot. Following this, he Mega Evolved and kept running Power Punch as he still kept getting soft blows back. Clemence exhausted his Potion Stock, and Stray Cat took it out at +4 attack. The light screen went away, but he was still in a safe enough position to Power Up Punch Orchard the Heliolisk. Then came Emolga again, and I decided to finish it with Cheap Trick. He held onto an Aerial Ace and retaliated with a Moon Blast that took away the rest of its health. Before moving along, I had a coffee break in Lysander's back alley bistro, where he told me some story about an ancient king that used an equally ancient weapon out of greed. I wasn't feeling a history lesson, so he gave me another fun held item and walked away in frustration. My brain could only handle so much at once, you know. Then the group made their way up the hilly swamp that was Route 14, where Caleb wanted another dumb battle, and I bumped into a haunted house attraction that was erroneously placed about a dozen miles away from Disneyland. In the bog, Y met a Gumi that got named Purple Haze, and the Ultra Ball throw secured a critical capture for the squad. At the end of the path was Lavere City, which had an authoritarian outlook on swimming, but not fishing for some reason. Just as well because it needed to have the pretty woodland look to represent its fairy-type gym, with a leaf taken out of Sabrina's books thanks to all the panels inside. And in the main chamber was Valerie. I figured out my fighters, then went in against her cuties. Vincent led for X. His Flame Burst was an Orca on the Mawile, and Krill's Shadow Ball was a 2 HQ on the Mr. Mime while also bypassing the light screen it set up thanks to her Infiltrator ability. For Sylveon, I let Poem fight it. She got hit with a Charm Attack Drop early on, but her second Poison Fang badly poisoned it. It could only really attack back with Swift, and by the time Cute Charm finally activated, it was long after Valerie's Hyper Potion use, and one more poison damage turn would force it to pass out. In Y, Chili Pepper's Flame Burst also one-shotted the Mawile. Metallica opened against the Mr. Mime with Shadow Sneak before it could even set up a Reflect. The damage done meant Valerie used her first Hyper Potion heal, but not like it mattered because Shadow Claw scored a crit. Then came Sylveon, with Stray Cat stepping up. He Mega Evolved, but only ran 2 mere Poison Jabs thanks to Reflect before getting hit with a Charm and a Dazzling Gleam. But the second Poison Jab poisoned it. Knowing that he'll die to another attack, I switched to Metallica, who tanked a Dazzling Gleam like it was nothing. He kept running through Shadow Claw attacks while holding back against its own assaults. It tried to use a charm to negate the impacts, but the poison was real, the second Hyper Potion only stalled for time, and its demise was flat out inevitable. Before leaving town, some Team Flare gunstormed the local Pokeball factory, so me and the gang of misfits went and chased them out with no issues. And we got a free Master Ball in the aftermath, so that's nice. At Route 15, X ran into a Klefki named Eevee, and when fighting more trainers here, Setsu was at a high enough level during daytime hours to evolve into a Tyrantrum, as was Purple Haze, becoming a Sliggoo without caring about the time of the day. The next stop was snowy Dendermeal Town, where the group met an old friend from the past 2 generations, Moo Moo Milk. Why wouldn't I rely on these going forward? This town is also home to the Move Relearner, so then was the time for Y to use a Shiny Stone Pick to bury and evolve Spice Girl into a Florges, then let her learn Moonblast that way rather than via level up. I couldn't progress forward without solving a blizzard problem at the nearby Frost Cavern, and to no one's surprise, Team Flare started it by trying to catch a specific Abomasnow inside the mountain. So after washing them over, only then will we be able to ride through the snow, on top of the mammal swine no less, all the way to Alistair City. I obtained the hidden power TM and learned very quickly that Crazy D's hidden power type is electric, which gave me some interesting ideas for later. Once again, Kalen wanted a battle, and once again, he flat out got schooled. But then so did I when trying to navigate the trippy layout of this psychic type gym. How surreal is this? I saw the leader. Olympia was her name. Sigalith opened. X began with Creel. Light Screen was a waste of time. Thunderbolts 2 shots. Sid Mega Evolved. Meowstic's Fake Out flinched him. No hit on turn 1. Shadow Claw got used. Always down to red HP. Heals and Calm Mind nerfed. Once down, there's Slowking. Tried to yawn, but Creel pulled through. Thunderbolts 2 shots. Why had Crazy D? Sigalith didn't go down. Night Slash didn't crit. The bird then set up. Not sure why it chose Light Screen. Potion stock wasted. Once down for the count, Slowking stepped in and used Yawn. Needed him awake. Here's Metallica. Shadow Claw spooked it away. Yawn put him to sleep. Meowstic remained. Crazy D went back again. Fake Out flinched turn 1. A Night Slash 2 shot. Calm Mind setup, not enough. Off to stop Team Flare. Yep, as soon as I got back outside, Lysander sent out a hologram broadcast and decided to activate an ancient weapon to ensure the survival of his group of delinquents. Wait, what? We've gone from fighting for the freedom of Pokemon to their very extinction in the space of a single generation. For a bunch of nutters, they flat out raised the stakes! In stupidly quick succession, the squads found the secret lab inside his cafe at Lumios, bought him upon arrival, wandered around the maze with a leaf taken out of Team Rocket's book, hit a switch to stop the weapon from activating, but an admin hit another switch to activate it anyway, witnessed a giant crystal flower thing plant itself in the middle of Geosenge, discovered a secret Team Flare base underneath the town, battled Lysander for a second time, went down more stairs and ultimately woke up a superpowered legendary that was fueling the machine. Let's go fight! Both squads used the gift Master Ball from the Pokeball Factory incident to capture Xerneas in X and Yveltal in Y, and both of them got sent to the box. And because of my actions, Lysander got peeved, approached me with some wicked sunglasses and battled me for a third time. Only this time, the Mega Evolution gloves were off. X had a simple working strategy from the first 2 battles that worked well initially. Mian Xiao's opening high jump kick missed Creel, leaving her to take up the rest of its health with Psychic. Radius Aqua Tail dampened its Pyro in 2 turns, and Sid's Aura Sphere was a one-shot on the Honchkrow. But then there was his Gyarados. Up until now, Creel had been able to Thunderbolt Oko it, but its Mega Evolution changed its secondary typing from Flying to Dark. And the move couldn't even do half damage, so after taking a huge chunk from Aqua Tail, I knew I had to switch. I wanted her for the end battle, so I had to sacrifice someone expendable, and that ended up being Sid. So he was brought out, and he got killed by an Aqua Tail crit. Since that didn't work well, I needed a second sacrifice in the form of Porom. She pushed on with acrobatics, yet she managed to survive from an Aqua Tail before seeing it go down. Well, I didn't have a simplified either, but Mian Xiao couldn't do anything on Metallica other than chip damage acrobatics. Aerial Ace was a straight 2 shots. Crazy D washed over the Pyro with Surf, then he ran 2 hidden power attacks at the Honchkrow while holding back against an Aerial Ace. Then there's the Gyarados, and because of the changed Mega Evolution typing, I needed a different approach. I decided that a non-stab Iron Head is infinitely weaker than a non-stab Earthquake, so I sent in Cheap Trick with the intent to Moonblast it to death. But the Gyarados went first, and Iron Head landed a crit Oko. I then threw in Stray Cat, who Mega Evolved and finished the Lucky Helmet chip work that Cheap Trick started with an Aura Sphere kill. The squad saved the world from Lysander and Team Flare, but they also lost a friend. It was while fleeing the place when he blew the place up that I felt how precious life can be. The world does indeed give and take, and some deaths could have been preventable, but the build-up to their departure is what makes life keep moving along for others. Sid and Cheap Trick will still be with us in spirit. X filled the dead spots on the main team with Setzer, opting for wider move diversity. Vincent would go on to be the only Mega Evolution fighter for the team, and Y still had another fairy type in the box, so Spice Girl returned to the front lines. South of Alistair City was Route 18, where more trainers awaited. X didn't face anything eventful, but Y did, as Love Deluxe finally evolved into an Aurorus during night hours, Purple Haze returned to Route 14 while it was raining to evolve into a Goodra, and Killer Queen fought in a trainer battle, only to get killed from a day-to-day's Crit Thunder of all moves. I thought this Landsnake had the bulk to take something like that from a single-stage unit. Ugh, never mind. 10 minutes came Dave was also there, where I picked up a Dusk Stone deep in the depths and used it to evolve Metallica into an Aegislash. He learned King Shield from the movie learner and was ready to fight properly. After reminiscing about life with Professor Sycamore at Kuriway Town, the squad sit listed more trainers on Route 19. That also included the hardest Sky trainer in the entire game, and she had an Aerodactyl in the back, meaning bad news for the Charizard duo. Both of them Mega Evolved before torching the Noctowl with a single flamethrower. Mega Charizard X replaced its part flying type with Dragon instead and nerfed damage from Aerodactyl Stone Edge, but it still took down half of Vincent's health. Unfortunately, I made the brave decision to sack Porom here. She put in one last bite, and she fell to 2 uses of Stone Edge. The chip damage meant Vincent sent out one more flamethrower to take out the rest of its health. Mega Charizard's Y doesn't change type, so Aerosmith led the charge against it. He did as much damage as possible with Acrobatics, then tanked a Stone Edge that thankfully didn't crit. I wanted to get a clean switch back in a Chili Pepper to finish it, but needed to sacrifice Talking Head first. But Stone Edge missed on the switch! The second one did hit though, meaning our floating moon phase fell at this hurdle. From here, Chili Pepper went in and ran the flamethrower needed to dispatch it. Y was able to cope fine without Talking Head, but Porom was part of X's main team, and replacing her spot was Eevee. Just as well because his typing was needed for the next major obstacle ahead. And that just happened to be a giant bridge in the middle of Route 19, where Shauna, Tieno, and Trevor battled me gauntlet style. Shauna and I opened respectively with Eevee and Delcatty. They exchanged play rough attacks initially, but changed to mirror shot after a Tom attack drop and a play rough miss. Q-Charm did get in the way, but he made it through. Eevee ran a play rough on the Goodra, but luckily tanked an Earthquake that would have killed if it's crit. Biddy tanked another one on the switch-in, then used another play-off to bring the dragon down. Cloud held back an extra sensory from the Greninja, while defeating it with a low sweep. In Y, Stray Cat Mega Evolved and hit an Aurasphere Orca on the Delcatty. Spice Girl's Moonblast was a 2-shot of the Goodra, which sent back a Sludge Wave. And her Delphox got an impromptu shower thanks to Crazy D's Surf. Next up was Tierno. Set to let an X against his Talonflame, held back a softened Acrobatics and chopped away with 2 Crunch attacks. He also held back a ridiculous Petal Dance from the Rose Raid, then a Dragon Claw set up Poison Points! Cloud got bolted to tank another Petal Dance, then used a combination of Rocky Helmet Chip and Low Sweep to finish it. Creel was in a brilliant match with the Crow Dance, but Thunderbolts landed a critical core before it could get going. For Y, Stray Cat Mega Evolved again and went completely solo. Talonflame went down to 2 Poison Jabs while tanking Acrobatics back. Then there was an Aurasphere Orca on the Crow Dance and 2 more Poison Jabs on the Rose Raid, all while holding back a soft Petal Dance from the latter. When it was Trevor's turn to fight, he was kind enough to heal the team first before going in. His Raichu opened up with Thunderbolt and landed 2 of them and Paralysis on Eevee, while he hit 1 play rough and missed another. Cloud got bolted to tank another pair of Thunderbolt attacks and plant a Seed Bomb on its head. Radiant got hit by Aerodactyl Supersonic and tanked a Sky Drop, but she then snapped out and a single Aqua Tail wiped all of its health. And Vincent riskily Mega Evolved against his Florges, which set up a Misty Terrain and hit a neutral Moonblast. But he still hits 3 Flamethrower attacks to burn it to the floor. For Y, Stray Cat Mega Evolved for the 3rd time and Aurasphere took out the Raichu in one go. Metallica went in for the Florges and ran an Iron Head 1-shot. He tried to do the same to the Aerodactyl, but Supersonic completely went past King's Shield, and he hit himself in the face before he could actually attack. Instead, Crazy D held back a Crunch, then he washed it over with a Surf. With that gauntlet out of the way, the squads moved along to Snowbell City. As it turned out, the local gym leader Wulfric wasn't in and was paying a visit to the Pokemon village down south. Before going there, X took a quick diversion west onto Route 21, the home of Yuna the Ursaring. As established in past games, Guts has a fantastic ability to wield at the 11th hour, but she ended up with Quick Feet instead. It's more situational, but I felt I can still make it work. After reminding Wulfric about his job, the squads went through his Ice-type gym, with rotating platforms in the middle of some giant kaleidoscope. And before long, the squads went face to face against his team. In X, Eevee went up first against the Abomasnow, which immediately set up Hail Bear Snow Warning. He landed a Mirror Shot to HKO, while also tanking Ice Beam in addition to the weather. Vincent went out for the Cryogonal, Mega Evolved, then on an Oracle Fire Fang in it to get past its mere physical bulk. The Avalugg, coincidentally, then went down to an Oracle Flamethrower due to its mere special bulk. And the only damage he took throughout was from the hail. And Y faced straight one-shots, with Metallica's Iron Head on the Abomasnow, Chili Pepper's Flamethrower on the Avalugg, and then a Fire Fang on the Cryogonal. If you don't count the hail, that one went damageless. Gotta admit, leaving the gym was way cooler than fighting him. With all 8 badges, the squads then moved along to Victory Road. This place had a lot of layers, but the softened battle mechanics made it more bearable to traverse this time around. Encounter-wise, X begrudgingly calls Lulu the Druidigan, and stats was where I learned Spiky Shield and Rocky Helmets do not stack. I guess if the shield blocks off the pointy hat, it'll never get activated in the first place. But why run into the freaking 5% Swilus? And after a disgusting amount of Ultra Balls, King Crimson got secured and put in the box. Midway through the path, Kalim reached me and wanted to battle me one more time, and so I agreed to it. Krill opened for X. She held back a fake out from its own Meowstic, but still dispatched it with 2 Shadow Ball attacks. I kept her in when Delphox got brought in, but realized that Vincent would be a better bet. Therefore, I'm Mega Evolving him for the stats buffs and letting him go all out with a Fly 2 shots. Alteria's Dazzling Gleam did me a chip damage on Rydia, who ran Play Rough twice to tear down that Cotton Cloud. Seth's Earthquake one-shot to the Jolteon, but he did get paralyzed from its discharge attack first. And Cloud smacked down the Absol with a single Hammer-On. In Y, Crazy D held back a fake out on the Meowstic, but it still fell to a single Night Slash on the following turn. Spice Girl's Moonblast was a 2-shot on the Altaria, which couldn't do much at all with Dazzling Gleam. Crazy D alternated between Night Slash and Hidden Power on the Vaporeon, which kept spamming Muddy Water and luckily didn't lower his accuracy. Metallica held back 2 Seed Bombs to the Chestnut while attacking with Ironhead, then tagged in Chili Pepper to hold back another one and burn it up with a Flamethrower. And Stray Cat went in against the Absol, going for the Mega Evolution and hitting an Aura Sphere Oko, a retirement-deserving blow. You knew what was happening. Stray Cat had been a fantastic addition to the team since mid-game, and had helped us through some tough battles. He was Y's first taste of Mega Evolution, and a fun one at that, but he definitely is needed in future legs, especially in Sinnoh if it goes that far. Also facing retirement was Riddio and Vincent for X, and Superfly for Y. The former 2 were also needed later, but Pidgeot still is great overall. When both squads reached the grounds of the Pokemon League, the necessary replacements jumped in. X immediately filled the spots with Aerith and Yuna, then got to figuring out a moveset. Y wanted to bring in Love Deluxe for one reason: Refrigerate ability. Nature Power becomes Tri-Attack indoors, and Refrigerate changed it from an 80 base power normal type move to a 120 base power ice type move, and that was before the same type of type boost would get accounted for. Amazing, right? And filling out the last spot, King Crimson got trained up, and unlike back in Unova, he reached his final form of Hydreigon at level 64! Yowzers. It was super easy to level up without rare candies thanks to the EXP share, so before long, both squads reached the same level as all 4 aces, and Yuna got pre-poisoned to activate Quick Feet. It was clear that Y had a more overpowered team than X, but they both had the roles needed to get past the Elite Four. Just like in Unova, these could get challenged in any order, but both squads happened to fight Malva's fire types first. X led with Setzer against a Pyroar. He held off against a Hyper Voice, but Earthquake took it down in one hit. Earth Surf one-shotted a Torkoal in a single bath. Setzer went back out for the Talonflame. He held off against a Brave Bird and connected a Rock Slide for a clean kill. The Shadow Lure did land a Confuse Ray, but he broke out of the confusion very quickly and landed an Earthquake one-shot. Y set up a broadcast of the King Crimson show. He mostly used Surf Spam on the roster, but as it didn't have enough power to Oko the Pyroar, a potion got used and a Dark Pulse brought it safely out of healing range. Once that was down, the next big threat was the Talonflame with Brave Bird, but once the recoil damage set in, the rest of its health became a total wash. A Surf Oko on the Torkoal and Chandelure later, and the team was ready for the next fight. The Woods-type Sous Chef Seabolt was Y's second opponent and X's third. Spice Girl ended up with the Metal Plate of this fight, but that turned out to be a big waste. For X, Cloud went up first against Claudia and straight Oko'd it with Seed Bomb. Krill tanked a Surf from the Starmie, and Thunderbolt wasn't enough to electrify it. In hopes of cheating with Water Absorb, I brought in Aerith on a turn where Seabolt used his first full restore. Thankfully, Body Slam was a 3-hit kill, leaving her to tank Psychic in the process. Cloud Seed Bomb also ripped apart the Barbarical, and Krill outsped the Gyarados and brought in the Expert Spells boosted Thunderbolt one-shot. Y opened with Chili Pepper, which sounded frightening, but watch this! I Mega Evolved him, therefore changing ability from Blaze to Drought, and thanks to the constant indoor sun, he went on to Oko Solar Beam, the Clowitzer, Barbarical, and Starmie in quick succession! Then there was the Gyarados, which tried to do a Dragon Dance setup, but Crazy D got a Hidden Power 2-shot before it had the chance to do much with its buffs. Drastic's Dragon types was X's second opponent and Y's fourth. In this fight, Eevee received the Rocky Helmet for X, and Spice Girl got her Pixie Plates back. Krill opened for X and sent out a Psychic onto the Dragalge, but it wasn't enough for the one-shot and she had to hold back a Sludge Bomb. This placed Drastic in a healing loop, and after using 2 full restores, third time really was the charm as Krill landed a crit. If one-shotted the Altaria with Ice Beam before it could do anything. I then built out Eevee for Drudigan, and only when those two got out was when I realized this thing has rough skin instead of sheer force, so 2 really can play that game. He connected 2 years as a play rough, and it in turn tried to push through with revenge. Recoil damage happened on both sides, but Eevee came out on top. And finally, Earth held back a Dragon Pulse from the Noivern and pushed through with an Ice Beam Oko. In Y, Love Deluxe went for the Refrigerate Misted Tri-Attack from Nature Power to take out the Dragalge in Noivern. She was still slow enough to tank a Dragon Pulse from the latter like it was nothing. She also took out the Altaria with an Ice Beam misclick, and Spice Girl went up against the Drudigan and took it out with a Moon Blast. Last but not least was Wickstrom, Y's third opponent and X's fourth. Before going in, Yuna took the soft sand from Setzer while he grabbed the black glasses. In X, Yuna led the team, but Klefki immediately went first thanks to Prankster and laying down some spikes. An annoying entry hazard for my entire squad. She brought in an Earthquake Oko, but then there was the Aegislash, and I had a very stupid ad hoc plan that involved Cloud and Spiky Shield. On a handful of turns where it tried to attack instead of using King Shield, the Spiky Shield bounced off and caused recoil damage. In the turns that predicted King Shield activating, he sent Seed Bombs at it. But it gave up on defending itself, it started attacking, and after a couple of Iron Heads, Cloud's health was down to 3 HP. It was a full restore heal turn at the time, so he used one more overgrow boosted Seed Bomb before getting swapped out. And Eevee landed a finishing blow with Foul Play. Purple Pass with Sturdy Sound is scary, which is why I brought out Setzer. He held off from a Flash Cannon, while in turn spammed Earthquake and made Wickstrom waste a full restore. In hindsight, stats probably should have been a better job for Yuna. Then there's Scizor. We had no fire type moves, but we did have Aerith, and she threw a Surf 2-shot at it. Obviously, Y had an easier time. Chili Pepper and Mega Evolved and torched the Klefki after it laid down the spikes, which I wasn't worried about this time. The plan I had for the Purple Pass was to bring King Crimson out, but as I learned quickly, a Flamethrower in the sun is way better than a super effective Surf. My miscalculations made Wickstrom use a potion, and now Demonic Dragon tanked more Power Gem and Flash Cannon attacks than necessary. But once the sunlight faded, it was clear sailing. But the Scizor and Aegislash, Chili Pepper, and the Sun went back out, and they got met with a Flamethrower each. One battle remained, and that was the regional champion, Diantha, local movie star and arguably the least impactful trainer we faced in the entire region. How did the league hire this girl again? Anyway, with the rare candies in my bag, everyone got brought up to the same level as her Gardevoir, and the squad and X got their held items back to what they were at the beginning, except Setzer took a hold of the Rocky Helmet instead of the soft sand. The battle started. X led with Krill against Hawlucha. Trails it might to set up a sword stance, but Psychic got the Oko. Gorgai stepped in next, and in went Setzer. It tried to add a ghost type through Trick or Treat, but Setzer outspent and brought its health down to red HP, prompting her first full restore heal. 2 more crunches brought it down. No Halloween candy for you today. Yuna went up against the Auroras. The first attempt at Hammer-On missed, leaving her to tank a Blizzard, but the second one connected and got the kill. Her Gudra's impressive moveset looks like the problem, so much that Focus Blast on Aerith cut her special defenses down, which I didn't want. Ice Beam did a good amount of damage, but she was still slow and at risk to a crit kill. I then chose to sacrifice Krill here, but she tanked a Focus Blast and brought down the rest of its health with Psychic. I played a similar Hammer-On game for the Tyrantrum too, only this time it was Cloud who went in. It wasn't enough for the one-shots, but the King's Rock Flinch got in! Thank you, Lysander! So while she healed again, he threw a Seed Bomb and landed another Hammer-On for the kill. And there it was, Gardevoir. Aerith stepped up, witnessed that thing transform into the most glamorous bridesmaid you've ever seen, and began the assault. Thunderbolt brought her health down to 40 HP, and there was the move, Perish Song. No matter what, it was all over. It was just a case of who will live. I switched to Eevee, who held back a Thunderbolt. Countdown to 2. Eevee missed Mirror Shot while taking another Thunderbolt down into red HP. Countdown to 1. I switched to Yuna, who survived a Thunderbolt and poison damage into red HP. Countdown to 0.
Game over, yeah!
X's match match was amazing, but why face something anticlimactic? Spice Girl and Anoko Moonblast on the Hawlucha, Tyrantrum, and Guja before they could even react. The same thing happened for Metallica's Ironhead on the Aurorus and Chili Pepper's Flamethrower on the Gourgeist. And then there was the Gardevoir, and obviously my best form of defense came from Metallica. It Mega evolved into its ballroom form and went first, meaning Metallica took a Shadow Ball like it was nothing. Not like it mattered, because even without a Metal Court or an Iron Plate, Metallica's Ironheads tore the maiden down in a single turn, securing victory. And just like that, Nuzlocks were completed in X and Y. For a pair of games considered a difficulty drop on Generation 5, it still had a handful of traders that kept me on my toes, as well as an unpredictable encounter pool that could have gone just about anywhere. A local Pokédex of this size had me expecting something similar for future generations, but for now, that's 12 more lines retired. I still have a return to Hoenn to wrap up Gen 6. I'll catch you next time when I take on Omega Ruby and Alpha Sapphire, so subscribe to see the next video as it goes live. For now, Rexy out. Thanks for watching, and never doubt the power of a pointy hat.